That's already the law.
Well, I think nobody's cooperating and nobody believes there's an amount of cooperation. So I think issuing that order or issuing one, issue a public statement. Would you issue a public statement that reiterates the law that with final orders you do? And then it brings up the other problem. Maybe we need more final orders and maybe ICE needs to be told to go to court and get final orders and then that you will comply with that. But I think they need to be told from you that you will actually comply if that is the distinction, that you don't like detainers because they're not a final court order and that you will obey final court orders. I think the people of America and the people of Minneapolis would do better, Minnesota, to hear from you that you will obey final orders. And then we have to figure out how come we don't have enough final orders and how come we haven't adjudicated these things. And then we're isolating in on the problem.
Senator, I have and will state Minnesota law clearly as many times as I need to, but I just want to be clear. That's not why we're here. We're here because of other political considerations, not because of something Minnesota is doing wrong.
I think that's sidestepping the issue. Senator Kim.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to the three of you for coming out. Attorney General, I wanted to start with you. I was going through the Minnesota state website and pulled up some facts here. I just want to make sure they sound about right. It was saying that there's about 585 police within the Minneapolis police. Does that sound roughly right?
Yeah, the city of Minneapolis has about that many police officers.
And about 561 in St. Paul.
Accurate.
And then about 620 in the Minnesota State Patrol. Does that sound about right? So we're talking about around 1,700 for some of the largest areas as well as the State Patrol. What was the total number of federal agents deployed at the height of the surge?
Well, there were the ones that they started with, and then 3,000 more after that. And my numbers suggest to me, so there's somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 are the best estimates. We don't have an exact precise number. My numbers are that's about 8 to 10% of all ICE agents in America.
I have to say that when I was when we were talking today about the different rules and the different ways in which they can organize between the federal and the state, but when I learned about just the sheer number and the contrast to the proportion on the ground, that was really shocking to me, because I don't think I fully understood that coming from New Jersey. So, Attorney General, I just kind of wanted to ask you, how did it feel on the ground when you have that much of presence at the federal level of these officers beyond what you were saying, 2 to 3 times the total number of state and local officers?
It felt like our state was targeted, blanketed with paramilitaries everywhere who were approaching citizens, non-citizens, whoever. It felt like we were being occupied by the federal government. And I started returning, Senator, to reading about how the Boston Massacre, how did those Bostonians feel when a faraway government in England had imperial troops marching all over their city, harassing and abusing the citizenry? That's kind of how I felt.
I heard that word a lot, used by others in Minnesota in the press, of just feeling occupied, just feeling like you don't have the ability to be able to control your own state and have this imposed upon you. So I just really wanted to hit that home because, again, we're having a lot of talks about what level of cooperation and whatnot, but I think this committee needs to look at just the sheer volume, the sheer number of federal agents and what kind of signal that sends to Minnesota and to those on the ground. And look,
Senator Kim, can I make one quick point?
Yes, of course.
Forgive me, my apologies. So the thing is, it has been said there have been surges in other states and we haven't had these kind of problems. The reason why is there's never been on this scale. We just simply haven't seen this level of scale in other cities. This is the single largest deployment of ICE, of immigration agents in the history of our country. So I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, absolutely. It's important to be able to hear. And sure, we heard the news from Holman saying that they're announcing the end of the surge. And this comes on the heels just a couple days ago of Trump saying he's not backing down. So, we're, I think, seeing the importance of oversight, of accountability, and the voice of the American people, and especially the people of Minnesota, who, as far as I can tell, seem like they have disapproved of ICE and seems like they're saying ICE has gone too far. And that's not just falling on partisan lines. Is it, Attorney General? It seems like it's across the board.
There's a well-known conservative podcaster. His name is Michael Broadcorp. this guy's a conservative. He's nobody's liberal, right? He's a conservative. It is a broad-based objection that Minnesotans are making. Now, not everyone, of course, but whether from the left to the center to the right, people are very disturbed by the engagement that they've been receiving from ICE officials and Border Patrol agents.
So despite the fact that the surge looks like it's ending and going back down, I think we can all say that damage has been done. There is also no admission of wrongdoing or wrongdoing of tactics by this administration, and it bodes questions about what comes next, not just for Minnesota, but where else are these agents going to go next? I think also part of this gets to what does it take to heal? What is it going to take to help the people of Minnesota heal? And Attorney General, you talked about just the lack of an independent investigation here. Is that something that would be important for the people of Minnesota to know that there is a true independent investigation that involves state and local participation?
Yes, Senator. I know that there's a diversity of views on this esteemed committee, but I would hope that all would agree that we need transparency in terms of the activities of ICE, transparency in terms of the conditions of detention facilities, access to those facilities, a full, fair, and joint investigation into the deaths of Good and Preddy, and into the masking. Nobody in this committee has police officers who run around wearing masks. I'm certain that Senator Rand Paul, Kentucky police officers and state troopers don't wear masks. We cannot impose on people what we would not accept for ourselves and then call ourselves fair. And finally, I want to just encourage Senator Langford to continue his work on comprehensive immigration reform.
Mr. Schnell, I wanted to turn to you because some of what Holman said, and I know you didn't have privy to see his what he said today announced, but he said that part of the reason why they're able to end the surge is now that there's a willingness on state and local to be able to cooperate. But with your testimony you said today sounded like you were already willing to cooperate, but that also that they weren't reaching out, that they weren't providing the efforts to be able to share their targets and whatnot. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Senator, I think, I think if there is a positive of Mr. Holman being dispatched to Minnesota, has been at least efforts to have discussions with local officials, efforts to try and gain a level of discipline among the agents that were dispatched to the state. Those things have been, I think, very, very positive. And yet, I think we still see, some lack of cooperation. I've had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Holman and have positive conversations. And yet, I think some of the struggles have been information sharing is an ongoing issue. We have provided information to them around the people in our custody who are non-citizens and who do not have detainers yet. And there's about 100 of them. And so we want to make sure that there is full accountability. And so, we're pleased.
And also
that
with stopping some of the misinformation that was put out there as well.
100%.
With that, I'll yield back.
Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ellison, let me start with you. You're the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. Do I have that correct? That's a yes?
Sir, you're aware of my job. You know the answer to that.
You're not going to answer my questions? Are we going to start this way? Are you the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, yes or no?
You know the answer.
Mr. Ellison, you're in my courtroom now. You're under oath. So I suggest that you answer my questions. You the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the state of Minnesota, yes or no? Let's try another question. Are you familiar with the $9 billion in historic fraud out of your state, including the $250 million in the Feeding Our Future program alone? You familiar with that? Don't turn to the pages in your book to get your potted answers. Are you familiar with it? Yes or no?
Yes, I am familiar with it.
Very familiar, aren't you? Because the people who ran the Feeding Our Futures program came to you in your official office in the state capitol December 11th, 2021, and asked for your help in getting investigators off their backs. They complained to you for upwards of an hour about state investigators going after them, and they begged you to help them, and you agreed to it, amazingly. And we know you did.
That's not
because
true.
It's all caught on tape.
Yeah,
Every single sentence is caught on tape. Here's what you said. Let's take a look.
Obviously, you
You
didn't listen
said,
to the
it's not a
tape.
question. You said to them,